Hey guys, welcome to day 5 with Minecraft. And just like in the previous episode, um, in this episode, I'm going over a bunch of more changes that I've made, rather they're upgrades, um, to the world that I had created just a few episodes ago. Um, Starting with a better defense system. So the first thing you may have noticed here, right? I've installed iron doors, believe it or not. And there's 2 sets here per sort of household. As you can see, I've also added a stone wall defense system as well that sort of guards the main gate once you're inside. And of course, the only way to open it from the outside would be to use this button. And the reason why I have designed it in that way, and that's just from trial and error, right, is if I had this pressure plate on the outside, that would just make it super easy for enemies to, make their way inside the door. You could just sort of just step on it and boom, Another thing too is if anything falls on either one of these plates, right? The door opens as well. So it could be enemies, items, anything. So the best way to sort of guard against that is to create a button, right? You could also create a lever as well to sort of, turn it on and off. The reason why I went with a button is enemies cannot, well, they do not use it. And again, the cool thing about buttons is you press it, there's just a brief moment where, it'll keep itself open. Outside of that, so it, because of the fact that it auto shuts itself off, and sometimes it is kind of annoying, which I had to get used to. Is you don't have to, keep on closing it every time you get inside the house. Same thing here. Like, you step on it, it opens, you step away from it briefly, it'll sort of revert back. And, again, this is definitely a step above our previous, establishment where we had nothing but a wooden door, right? And having a wooden door means a lot of times enemies can get in, and I have seen it myself, believe it or not. So that's the first change you may have noticed here, which is pretty cool, I will say. And then, as soon as we step outside, like I said earlier, there is a, stable stone wall here that I've installed right around the perimeters of the house. Nothing too crazy, right? It's just big enough to guard the shelter that we had created just a few episodes ago. And as soon as I step outside, I've also added like a mini internal road system. And I don't plan on going crazy with this, but just this is just used for internal purposes. So these, it just surrounds the perimeter of anything that I have built in-house around the shelter. As you can see, a lot of these fences are connected to this path, and I think it gives a more aesthetic, or just aesthetics in general. Looks a lot better. And one more thing you may have noticed is I've also added a pig farm as well. That was the only thing that I was missing from a basic standpoint, right? We do have all kinds of species here. And there's still more which we need to go hunt down too, right? Like if you look at this is a llama. And these guys don't, it's not easy. Like you don't just bust out a seed or, an egg or something like that to kind of lure them, or even wheat like you did with cows. So with these guys, the cool thing is you can just get on them, right? Pretty interesting. Which doesn't do much here, at least right now. We have no use for that, but The only way to lure these guys into any specific farm or a potentially encapsulated area that I'll have in the future is you do have to create a, I forget what they call it, but it's used as a leash to sort of tie them down. Same thing with horses. So more to come on that soon. And another thing you may have noticed, or at least another part to our ecosystem here, is this road also connects to this new, it's not necessarily shelter by any means, but it's really used to store excess, inventory. I found that, before when I was just randomly storing things inside these chests, right? I mean, there's only a handful amount of room I have here. It's just a house, right? It is not by any means a warehouse, or it does not provide for an extended storage capacity. So I can only store a handful of things, inside this shed. And I did notice that, had a good amount of cobblestone collected from all the mining that I've done underground. And of course, add the fact that we also have lots of other stones too, right? Like andesite, granite, and gravel. I think diorite is another one. So, having said all of that, what I decided to do is this facility, right, this warehouse that I'm going to potentially call it. So each room is going to hold different types of inventory. So I know it sounds pretty crazy, but this floor here is going to be used, for nothing other than cobblestone itself, because of the fact that it's so common, and after a certain amount of time, you will end up with a lot. I mean, look at this. Here I have a large chest filled with nothing but cobblestone. And this thing was filled up until just recently, when I had used it for, smelting cobblestone into just regular stone, and of course turning that into the stone wall that you see outside. So that's floor, that's the ground floor here, right? And of course you may have noticed I've installed these nice windows too to get some natural light into the room. And of course at night we sort of rely on these torches. So not too bad. And then of course if we move towards the second floor, right? At least my plan of organizing it is just having the different types of stones here, right? Like we have andesite here, gravel, and some other, the other stones on the other side. And the reason why I'm sharing a lot of these different stones here for a single floor is because those are not, as abundant and as common as the cobblestone. And of course, with each room means installation of windows too to get some natural light in and give it a better feel. And I think at some point I will want to install another floor on top of this, maybe to store the different types of wood. As you know, we have the dark oak, we have regular oak, and a lot of times, once you start chopping down trees, you do end up with a good bit of those as well. And then of course, I will say anytime you're making, regardless of whether if it's a shelter or a warehouse, something like this, it doesn't matter what it is, you do have to, you do want to install some wood floors or some stone floors, something equivalent. If you just have grass as the base, you're probably going to have the possibility of having, monsters spawn inside at any time. So quite, definitely some changes here. And just like with the shelter, right? This place does have a good bit of stone wall surrounding it as well, as an extra defense system. And somehow this horse has somehow made its way in. But again, this guy is is potentially harmless. And I think these guys can jump over fences and these things, if I'm correct. But the reason why this defense system, right, is better than just having, say, this and of course an iron door is, sure, like once you're inside the house, everything may seem fine, but without something like this as like a second layer, what's going to happen is if you have a lot of those, I forget what they're called, if it's creepers, but the guys that potentially explode all the time, right, when you're near them, you know, you could be inside this place, right, and if you're near the edge of the house or the place, right, then you have nothing else on the outside, which means regardless of whether that explosive guy sees you or not, he's still going to explode. And I have found that to be the case a lot of times. And so that's why I started to, you know, sort of make this. And so far, it has started to help. I have not found any of those mishaps. And the great thing about stuff like this is, you know, enemies cannot just jump over it. In fact, you yourself can't. So pretty good layer of security there. I think we're going to leave this guy alone. He's not really bothering us. And of course, the ladder, which I had, which goes all the way up to the max floor for now. And of course, as you can see here, plenty of torches to go around. So that way, you know, it keeps the enemies away. So pretty good, I think, for, you know, an upgrade of what we have so far. A lot of times I end up forgetting which side the ladder is placed. Probably this side right here. And you do have to be careful not to just straight up jump down, right? Because that fall damage will likely kill you from that elevation. And of course, I had placed buttons here on the side because we don't have a top here. And at some point, I'll probably want to organize this stuff a little better too. Just like what I've been doing with the warehouse. So since it is nighttime, we can go to bed. Today, let's try going back to the mining underground facility that I have sort of started to make. The one thing I do want to make sure I have enough of is stone pickaxe. So I'll probably want to make at least 4 or 5 different ones. Actually, I think I said that too soon, since I do have some more in stock here. I think that should be okay. And let's not forget that I'll probably want to just get another sword. Of course, the one thing I do want to start doing is having at least 1 pack of stones at the shelter, and so I don't have to go back every single time here. So it's pretty great just having those pressure plates. You can just waltz on out, and of course, by the time you walk outside, the doors will be shut. So I'll need a sword. And what we're gonna do is just place those stones, or the cobblestones, over here in case we quickly need these, whether we're smelting them or producing some type of weapons or tools. So let's head on out towards our mining ground. And of course, the other thing too is, pretty much any excess dirt that I collect over time, I do like to sort of, patch these ditches because, from a pillaging standpoint, at least what I hope to create here is, and I already have started doing that, right? Before, there were lots of different holes here all over the place. I've gotten those filled up, and the place is ready for more construction and development. So right now, we are headed towards the underground mining facility. I have started to see less and less enemies here, and I think it's due to the fact that, I do have a good bit of lighting inside. So if you remember, I uncovered this in the last episode. The initial mining pattern that I followed is just continuous, mining diagonally until you manage to hit bedrock. And by bedrock, we mean that the stones that you cannot break in survival mode. And I honestly have no clue how these guys got down here, but they do not pose a threat. And I don't think I want to trade right now, although this would have been nice if I did have at least one emerald. I am in need of some pumpkins because we need to start growing them, for crafting iron giants in the village. That's something we'll have to come back to. Okay, so there's another pattern I found in addition to some of the stuff I went over in the last episode from a mining standpoint, right? So what I figured was, instead of just starting to mine here horizontally and then going back and forth, right? You tend to waste a lot of time doing that because a lot of times you're just collecting a bunch of cobblestone and it's not really anything of value. So what I started doing, and you'll start to see it along the edges here. All the way in the back. Is doing two stones at a time, right? Keep 2 stones, 2 sets of rows, and then you mine on the third one. The reason why I do that, right, is because, this way you're not just mining through every one of these just to see what's behind it. And if you do need to sort of be clean with what you do, then just keep another layer in the back, right? So in this case, all of this is just straight up cobblestone. So that doesn't really do much for us. So, we'll leave that alone. So, continue with the same pattern here. As you can see, looks like this is where I left off. So basically just work your way through across this. And there you go, see? So this helps us find, I guess, stones of more rarity and of course value a little faster. So I can just go over here. Oops. And another thing I realized, I should have brought an iron pickaxe, which I did not. And that means, unfortunately, I won't be able to mine through these because if I do, then I cannot obtain those minerals that are inside. So on second thought, unfortunately, even though it might sound tedious, probably a good idea to go back and yeah, we'll have to craft the sword. And I can't build a crafting table here because I don't have enough wood. So lesson learned. Always have at least one iron pickaxe with you. And the reason why, by the way, is because if you come across any diamonds, if you come across any redstone, you cannot just use a stone pickaxe. Otherwise, you're just wasting resources, and nothing's gonna happen as a result. And as you can see, this guy is here. We'll want to get away from him, although he did manage to explode. Didn't really hurt us at all, so. We'll take the back door. And I'm pretty sure I have some iron ingots stashed away here. There we go. And of course, I'm very careful as to not use any more of iron ingots than I have to. Alright, so it's back to the mining field for us. And actually, because of the fact that I only have a handful amount of those hunger items, might as well go ahead while we're at it. And it's completely okay that it's now getting towards nighttime, because the great thing about that mining facility that's deep underground is that there's less chances of enemies there with the amount of torches that we have and with the way we've been digging. There's just not enough space for very many to start spawning, thankfully. It's a long way down. And as I mentioned in the last episode, at some point I will have to make, maybe a ladder system so we can quickly go down, come back up. But that's only when we start mining straight down. Here's our first customer for using our sword. So we do have to use an iron pickaxe for these. No worries. And it looks like there's a few more here underneath it as well as behind it. Looks like that's just about it. So, and then meanwhile we'll continue mining through these. And what's going to happen is before you know it, once you mine deep enough, you'll end up on the other side and you will start to see some light as an indicator. Okay, I guess these are iron ingots, right? Or iron ore. That's very good. Oh, okay, that's bad. We'll have to be careful here. Gotta close this up fast if I can. Whoops. We'll have to be careful about that lava there, because that could mean that the rest of this tunnel, if we continue to go in this direction, we're probably going to end up, and as you can see here, if you listen to the sound, you do start to hear the lava. So this could be our, you know, stop zone for this particular excavation, at least in this area, right? There's plenty of space for us to mine. And of course, we wouldn't want to miss these, by the way, because a lot of times they give you experience in addition to the coal. And if you're wondering, you know, just what type of stones have I found while mining with this approach, I have found a good bit of diamonds here. You know, in addition to gold, redstone, and all the others. This right here looks like gravel. So maybe we should start mining, you know, towards a different path. And what I'm going to end up doing, well, first let's get this. So, one thing I have found is if, you know, at some point while I continued mining in this direction, I did hit lava. Just like, you know, down that end. So what we'll do is we'll avoid this direction, we'll avoid that direction all the way through, and we'll start going towards this. So if we come across, you know, if we happen to come across a lot of bedrock, that should be okay. I mean, at least it's in the opposite direction of the lava. So let's see what we can uncover here. So again, 1, 2, 3. Mine down the third one. This is more gravel. And the idea behind, you know, the mining approach in general, I think, in just about any type of world you play in Minecraft, it's not to you know, it's not supposed to be overly exhaustive. I mean, you do want to sort of, you know, load as much of your inventory while you can, and then go back, rest up, rinse and repeat. And this is the problem with a lot of the gravel. You know, it sort of just starts to break. And before you know it, you'll be going through countless blocks of these before you're done. Let's go ahead and put a torch here for safety. Now, one thing we do want to find out about, right? We've mined a good way through here, a good amount. So the question is, you know, how deep are we supposed to go here before we can reach the other side? There's just a handful amount of mining to do here, I think. And again, we don't want to keep it too complicated because at some point we don't want to get lost after we come back. Aha, here you go, see? Here's some additional iron ore, and here is some diamond. So, and of course this can only be mined using the iron pickaxe or above, and of course there's more diamond just behind it. So a lot of good stuff here, looks like. Some more redstone. And here's the other side, right? But apparently we're only halfway through. All the way here. So maybe it's a good idea to start getting through the depth of this area, right? Do we want to mine? We want to continue mining in not that direction, which is towards lava, not that direction, which is towards more lava. So we want to go this way. You know, more specifically towards that diamond and the iron ore that we just found. So here's what we'll do. We'll head in by about 3 blocks. Okay, maybe add a torch here to keep it from going too dark, and then now we'll make our way through this layer. And the way I time it, right? Each of these mining raids, it only lasts as long as the pickaxes can allow us to last as well, right? And at the same time, by the time each of these pickaxes are, they've been diminished, we will already have gotten a good bit of stones. And as if you can start to hear it, could be some lava on this side, or is it towards the bottom? I can't tell. But again, there's only one way to find out. And if we do happen to, pound our way through and see some lava, then we can just start using some of this cobblestone in between as a safety measure. And one thing I will say, is using these torches every few blocks is very important, because a lot of times you could end up having potentially rare stones here on this side, but you won't even see it if it's too dark. So this way, it helps you keep track of what's not only ahead, but to your sides. So it looks like most of this is just gravel. Lots of it, as you can see. We've come quite a long way here. I mean, we can certainly decide just how deep we want to go. I think I'll just want to circle back out here and make sure I'm mining in the right direction. This one is bad. This one is bad. This one's good. So again, that's exactly what we're doing, right? What we'll do next to sort of continue this trend, right? Let's do 3 here. And you can definitely hear some lava. Let's see how much we can get through before it hits us. I think I went in one too many times, but 1, 2, and 3. This is where we want to make our way through. And we'll start from the other side, which means if we can place maybe a torch here, when we hit this end, at least we'll get some good amount of light to say, okay, stop right there. So again, three blocks in, and then head towards the right. Oh, and here you go. Here's another diamond stone. And looks like there's more where that came from. Nice. Some more here. So pretty good, not too bad, right? And of course, diamond is not going to be nearly as common as the rest. So never expect that you know, it's not going to be a gold mine of diamonds or a gold mine of gold. A lot of times the gravel will just be non-stop, depending on how deep it is, you know. And since we're sort of deep here, let's go ahead and light up a torch. Make sure we're not missing anything here. So at some point while we're mining through this, we are going to hit the other side where the torch is placed. Looks like this is an iron ore block. There's more behind it too, which is very good. And on the side. Excellent. So this way we did not waste any time, right, on cobblestone itself. Hopefully we are near the other side. Place a torch maybe here. And here's some more redstone dust. And here we are. This is the end. So we've reached the other side. you can actually start to hear the lava once you fall down here, which means I'm willing to bet that it's probably towards here, like the southern part, the bottom, which we don't plan to mine through. So let's just hope that we can score big. Actually, you can hear it here as well. But again, we'll just find out. No big deal. So we have a few, just a little bit of life in these two stone pickaxes, and we have a little bit of space for additional stones. So I would say let's just continue pushing through. So again, 1, 2, 3, and then you continue here. And then always have a torch on the other side. Just for reference. And one thing you do want to make sure you do is, when you're mining through these stones, right? Probably staying super close is a bad idea because you never know if lava will just straight up overflow. In which case, what we'll do is as soon as we see something like that, we'll just place one of these stones, just like how we did earlier. But there's nothing crazy so far. Okay, so we are now on our last stone pickaxe. Place a torch. I'm not sure if we had dug through here or not, so just double checking, and we did not. So we definitely want to have done this on both sides. All right, so 1, 2, 3. And torch. Almost there, it looks like. There we go. So it looks like it's pretty much time to go back with what we have. Thankfully, we did secure 12, a count of 12 diamonds, which is very good. And a handful of iron ore. Let's see if there's anything behind this stuff. So next time we come back and looks like there's a spider that's spawned in here, we'll probably continue, our depth first search for some rare items. Let's go ahead and take care of this guy before we leave. Oh, there's actually a handful of them. Let's just get out of here while we can before it gets messy. So clearly we have overstayed our welcome underground. But thankfully we did manage to A, survive, and B, find some diamonds. Hopefully there's not a lot of enemies that have spawned out here. Looks like that's a no, thankfully. Here's a spider. We'll take care of this guy here. Looks like it's almost daytime, thankfully. But we do need to take care of that hunger meter. As you can see here, the cool thing is these guys will all stay away from our house perimeter and the factory perimeter. Let's get this bread first. So at this point in the game, we have secured a total of 25 diamonds. I think that's quite a feat, given for how many hours we've spent. Let's see. And of course, as you can see, we do have a good bit of redstone dust as well. And that's just something for us to explore in future episodes where, we want to build a lot of automatic dispensers or do any kind of, automatic farming or enemy traps, I guess. Haven't had a use for flint yet. And as for the iron ore, I typically like to just keep that smelted before, you know, we put it to use. So here, you know, after each mine, we'll just store the excess cobblestone. So that guy right there, as you can see, that's the reason why we have these perimeters in place, right? The closer you get to him, the worse your situation. It seems like he's just waiting around. What we can do is just walk away from him. He is going to follow. And until I get better with those bows and arrows, not much we can do to ward him off. But at least we managed to get him to run away. What else can we do? Well, since we're back in town, it's time to go check out what's going on in the nearby village. Interesting. And each of these villagers, by the way, they have their own classification, right? This guy is wearing what's like a farm hat, right? He's clearly a farmer, as you can see. This guy will have a bunch of different food items that you can trade with him in exchange for emeralds. And if we continue going down to the other side of the village, right, you have another guy. I guess he's some sort of a crafter of, you know, I guess a cleric, right? Level 1 cleric. And each of these guys do have their own corresponding levels. So once you trade enough times with them, the level does go up gradually. In my case, I've only managed to take one of them from level 1 to 2. I believe it was the stone guy. Was it him? No, it was him. So he's a level 2 armorer, right? And the reason why I always keep enough coal on hand whenever I'm in this village is for trading stuff like this. Because number one, you're always going to have enough coal just from mining. And, you know, excess coal, I don't think makes too much sense to store. Because you can always use other sources of fuel to burn. So, you know, you have plenty of wood, for instance, to continue to use those. So again, we just got, you know, 3 pieces of emeralds from that trade alone. But this guy, again, he specializes in armor-based classification, so he's sort of the one I would go to if I need to buy, any sort of like shields, helmets, maybe boots. And of course, the more you trade with each villager means the more they will become, inclined towards you. It's like their sense of respect for you. And for fishermen, I have noticed he always likes these, right? The strings that you can get off of some of the spiders that you defeat. And I always have a good stock of those too. I just didn't happen to bring it with me this time around. But that's also, a very easy thing to get, as every single one of these guys are logged on to me. So it's interesting, as soon as you select your emerald, they become sort of attracted to you. I mean, can you even get them to follow you? I don't think so. Yeah, they're not willing to migrate just because you have, some of these emeralds. This guy also looks like he wants, I'm not sure if that's coal or flint. Looks like it's flint. And of course, the iron golems, right? Something that everyone probably wants in their village, including myself. But again, we don't have any pumpkins or any pumpkin seeds, for that matter. Thankfully, they are harmless guys unless you do something in the village that is considered criminal. One thing I'm not sure about in regards to these villages is, do they grow autonomously? Because in the last episode, I know I had stated that these guys look like they're developing more and more houses as time goes by. But I don't think that's the case. But one thing that is true is, for each of these houses, right? This one looks like it's not really a house. But you can only apparently have enough villagers spawn as there are enough beds inside that village to support that system. So if you have just, say, 3 houses in a village with 3 beds each, then you cannot have more than 3 villagers spawn in that village, which makes sense. And these guys tend to walk around quite a bit, as you can see. He's sort of wandering outside the village slightly. But since now it looks like it's, getting towards nighttime, probably a good idea to go back. And coincidentally, that also brings us to the end of today's episode. So, again, stemming off of some of the things we uncovered this episode. So quite a bit of changes in town, lots of different construction going on here. But again, I think it's all about the defense system. That's the biggest change for me. And knowing that, a lot of those guys, knowing that you're far away from them, their systems aren't going to, kick off. Whereas before, I had nothing but a wooden door here. right? And so that meant the possibility for them to explode. But of course, I'm gonna have to start getting used to these iron doors and the button system because it's not always easy to quickly open. Anyways, thanks for tuning in for this episode, and next time, some of the things that we'll probably be exploring is some of the automatic stuff. I definitely want to start looking into automatic farms and maybe even automatic dispensers, right? Where you can maybe put in a bunch of things within a confined set of space, put in some dispensers, hoppers. If it's irrigation, maybe throw in some water and have stuff sort of spawn across time and kind of pay for itself. So definitely some exciting things we'll look in future episodes. So thanks always, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.